More than 200 years ago, Queen Catherine the Great joined the Crimea to Russia. Then, 60 years ago, Nikita Khrushchev gave Crimea to Ukraine. And now, 1 month ago, on the 21st of March, Crimea was joined back to Russia. And all over the world, people discuss was Russia right or not in its in her actions, and I'm interested in this topic because it affects the arrangement of political powers all over the world. Today, I'll try to persuade that Crimea should belong to Russia, and to do so, I'll tell you about 3 things. First, events in Ukraine, specific events, and second, political situation in Ukraine, and the third, economic situations in both countries, Ukraine and Russia. So, I hope that in the end of the speech you will know more about the actual situation in the Ukraine, and you maybe will be persuaded in that Crimea should belong to Russia. Okay? First, are events before 2004, when President of Ukraine was Viktor Yushchenko. He was some like reformator, and he made the economic of Ukraine grow up. In this period, economic of Ukraine was high, but in 2004, the President Viktor Yanukovych was the president of Ukraine, and during his presidential time, he lowered the economical position of Ukraine. And recently, Ukraine tried to join to European Union, and but in the last step, when Ukraine was going to associate with European Union, he backtracked everything, and now then the revolution in Ukraine started, and now the president is Alexander Turchinov. His politics is anti-Russian, and he blames in everything Russia. He takes the help from European Union, USA, and other G7 countries. These events made the situation like it is now, and I'll tell you about the political situation in the Ukraine now. First is the revolution. People were not satisfied with the economic position of the Ukraine, and in the February they started making active fights, and during these fights, Yanukovych has fled to Russia, and Alexander Turchinov has become the president. Now, when Alexander Turchinov is president, people are still not satisfied in some parts of Ukraine, and because of it, the civil war started on the 15th of March. And according to the interview from President of Center of Systematic Analysis and Forecasting, Rostislav Ishchenko, on 15th April of 2014, Ukraine is already in the state of civil war. Then how everything is connected to Crimea? Crimea was from 1954. It was in the territory. It was territory of Ukraine as autonomic republic. Now, Russia took back the Crimean territory, and what actually Crimean people want is to join Russia. However, due to political constitutional laws, Crimea can't be so easily given to Russia, and all the world is blaming Russia for doing it. And according to ITAR-TASS, 83% of voters of Republic actually voted, and in 96 and 6% of all the voters of the Crimean people were to joining the Russia. And now I'll tell you about the economic position of two. This is one of the points where they voted. And now I'll tell you about the economic positions in both countries. First is economic situation in Ukraine, and for a long time, from 2004 to 2013, starting from 2004, Ukrainian economic was falling down, and according to Jack Rasmus, the PhD in political economy, from 2000 to 2004, GDP rose from 61 to 68. It was a period when Ukrainian economic was rising. And however, from that point, it lowered to 57 in 2013. And in 2013, economic was in recession, and recession will accelerate in 2014 too. And some reports are predicting that GDP of Ukraine will drop to 5 to 10%. The next is the economic situation in Russia. We can see here the gross domestic product by Purchasing Power Party. It includes Czech Republic, Poland, Russia, and Ukraine, but we actually need only Russia and Ukraine. It is only till 2012, but we can see that in overall GDP of Russia is of course higher than Ukraine's, and according to RIA Novosti, World Bank Group forecast rise of GDP in 2014 only to 2.2%, while Ministry of Economic Development of Russia forecast 2.5% rise for GDP of Russia. So we can see that for Crimea, situation for joining to Russia is more profitable, and from political point of view, Ukraine has a very bad condition now. It is in civil war, and from the late news, Ukraine is also blackmailing now the Crimea for joining Russia. We can see it from the news that according to Kommersant paper, Ukraine reduced the amount of water transported to Crimea, and first Vice Prime Minister Ruslan Temirgaliyev says that he doesn't doubt that this is element of political blackmail. Not only this, but also on 20th of March, Ukraine stopped transporting the electricity to Crimea, and all over the Crimea there was no electricity. So today I told you about the events in Crimea and Ukraine specifically, and now you know about the advantages for Crimea to join Russia. I hope that now you think that Crimea should join Russia, and I would like to close my speech with the right one, and the one who lives on the land is people of the country, and people's needs are the most important thing for a country.